and welcome to Razz Reviews. Today, I'm gonna be reviewing Wonder Woman. Finally! Wonder Woman! People have been waiting for this movie for a long time, you guys. There's a lot of firsts here. This is the first PG-13 live-action iteration of the character of Wonder Woman. This is the first female superhero movie directed by a female director ever in life. It's about time too. She's arguably one of the biggest female superheroes in comic book history, and yet we've barely seen any live-action adaptations of her. A lot less than her counterparts like Batman and Superman. So why is that? So a lot is riding on this movie. A lot of people wanted this movie to be good. This is the fourth installment in the DC Cinematic Universe, which many of you should know by now I'm not a big fan of. I didn't know what to expect going into this movie because I wasn't a fan of Gal Gadot when she was cast as Wonder Woman in Batman vs Superman. And in that film, I didn't know. She didn't seem to be that well defined for me. I also thought the trailers looked really good, but then again, a lot of good trailers turned out to be bad. I'm looking at you, Suicide Squad. After having seen it, I have to say, I liked Wonder Woman a lot more than I thought I would. And I was so excited when I went out of this film. I was like, finally, I actually watched a DC movie and I was totally immersed and enjoyed it from beginning to end. Honestly, watching this movie, I felt like I've been thirsty to see Wonder Woman kick some butt in live action. And when I saw it, I felt like I had a tall, cold glass of water and it just made me feel so good watching it. So there's definitely a lot to like here, so let me tell you about the top 3 things I liked about Wonder Woman. Number 3, the directing. Patty Jenkins is not a well-known director, but it was her dream to do Wonder Woman. She tried to do it back in, I believe, 2005, and then she got pregnant and she didn't do it, and now she got the chance to do it again, and she said it's her dream to do this film. And you can tell that by the passion and the love that's put into this film. The only other thing that I know her from is that she directed Charlize Theron into winning an Oscar by doing Monster. Now, of course, Wonder Woman is no Oscar-winning film, but I felt her director's touch really elevated the film and made it a lot more graceful and a lot more impactful than it could have been if it was in the hands of someone who didn't understand the depth and emotion that you put into a character to bring them to life on screen. And I felt she did that very well in this film. And you can see the difference between Gal Gadot in this film and Gal Gadot in Batman vs Superman. It also improves throughout the film. Like, she's learning more and becoming a better actress throughout the shoot of this film. The tone of the film was really nice too. It was hopeful and it was lighthearted, but when it needed to be serious, it was definitely serious. It wasn't too gloomy, but at the same time, it wasn't too goofy. And I felt like this is the first DC film that really nails the tone that they should have in this universe. The story was well informed and the pacing of the film was really good as well. I felt there was a really good balance between big action set pieces and smaller, quieter scenes that were sprinkled throughout. And speaking of action set pieces, the number 2 thing I liked about Wonder Woman was the action. Let's talk action scenes, shall we? Because, oh my god, the action sequences in this film are so awesome. They are well directed, they are well shot, the stunts are amazing, Gal Gadot looks great fighting. Like, it's not because it's just a really cool action sequence with a lot of killing and fighting and kicking and screaming. It felt like a powerful woman was kicking some ass. It was strong, but at the same time, it was also graceful in a sense. I didn't feel like I was watching Batman fighting or Superman fighting. I really felt like it was an Amazonian warrior. So not only was this action awesome and cool and well shot, it was also very true to the character, and that's why I think it's gonna resonate with a lot of people. The number 1 thing I liked about Wonder Woman was the character of Wonder Woman. This movie has one job, other than make a lot of money as a female superhero-led film, other than redeem the DC universe. One job in terms of storytelling, which is make us get to know the character of Wonder Woman in this universe and like her. It did such a great introduction to the character. I know Wonder Woman, I know her character traits, I know what she wants, her hopes and dreams and fears, and she was also flawed, and that's cool. So it was nice watching her struggle and get to know the world and get to know herself and find her place. And of course, kudos to Chris Pine and the character of Steve Trevor, which was amazing. And their chemistry together was great. Both of them pulled their weight in the missions and they worked really well independently, but they also worked very well together, and that was important, and it made Wonder Woman's character a lot better. The best thing about this character is that I felt for the first time in a long time in superhero movies, you felt like you're watching a hero, somebody you would aspire to be. So this movie was really good and I enjoyed a lot about it, but it definitely wasn't a perfect film. So let's talk about the top 3 things that I didn't like about Wonder Woman. Number 3, the first act. I really didn't enjoy the beginning of this movie. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. It was very little iffy. But then what happened was, if good was here and bad was down here, the movie started kind of like here, but then it just got better and better and better. First act had a lot of problems because there was a lot to establish, and it was really hard explaining all of that stuff without it being too exposition-y. The Amazonian characters didn't work for me either. They were just meh. Hippolyta was okay, Antiope was okay, and I felt like it was a little bit of a letdown for me in the beginning. Especially that I love Robin Wright. Robin Wright was definitely wasted. So basically the women were like, ah, we're warriors. Okay, what else? There wasn't much else. They were just that. I mean, again, it looked cool, their outfits were amazing, and the end of Act 1 and the break from Act 1 to Act 2, when you have this big action set piece, it was pretty awesome. However, in terms of story, it was the weakest part of the film, and that's why it was one of my least favorite things about it. The number 2 thing I didn't like about Wonder Woman, the villains. The villains in this movie were, again, okay. Sometimes they were a little bit too over the top for me. You know what makes a really good villain is a villain that doesn't think he's a villain. He thinks he's righteous in what he does. He thinks he's doing the right thing. That's what makes them interesting, like Loki, like Magneto. Like, they feel like they're on the right side of things. But when a villain knows he's a villain and walks around and talks and breathes and looks like a villain, he becomes a little bit two-dimensional. And that sometimes happens here. You'd see a villain walk out of the car and he's walking out like a villain, like, relax, you're just exiting a vehicle. Like the way he enters a room. So I felt like that was a little campy. Even some of the fights with the supervillains sometimes didn't work. Sometimes there was a little bit too much CGI, but it's okay. The dialogue during the fights sometimes was a little over the top, like, ah, I will defeat you, you're alive. What's going on, guys? Chill. And speaking of campy and over the top, the number 1 thing I didn't like about Wonder Woman was a thing I thought was the weakest thing about it. It's that sometimes it was a little cheesy. Wonder Woman is a little inconsistent here, where sometimes it felt really good and realistic, and a lot of scenes worked well, like the scenes between Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, which had the potential to be super cheesy and lame, were actually really nice and lovely. Even like their romance felt lovely. I'm like, oh, that's nice. But then again, there were other scenes and other moments that were really cheesy and didn't feel as grounded as the rest of the film did. I'm not saying that the whole movie was cheesy or that it was cheesy most of the time. It's only because there were a lot of really cool and grounded moments in the film, and that is why the cheesy moments stood out so much in contrast. So all in all, this movie really did what it had to do, and I thought it was a great introduction to this character, and it really established her as a very powerful and great character in the DC universe. I can't wait to see more of her, and it's not a perfect film. It has some flaws, but it was definitely enjoyable, a very good film, and I'm gonna give Wonder Woman an 8 out of 10. So, have you seen Wonder Woman? Are you excited about the next DC film? What are your expectations? Let me know in the comment section, and as always, like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to ask me for anything you'd like me to review for you next. See ya!